start with lecture 3, and before start talking about manner of articulation, which is the third step to start with, I just would like to try to correlate between the previous lectures and the lecture that is going to be today, inshallah, to be covered today. In the last two lectures, as you remember, we covered two parameters, two criteria that are very much important in order to distinguish between different sounds. These are voicelessness, whether sounds are voiced or sounds are voiceless. The second parameter was places of articulation. In other words, where A is modified while being, let me say, coming out of the lungs, out of the body. And this parameter is called places of articulation. Sounds depending on this, let me say, parameter could be bilabial, as I said, could be alveolar, could be palatal, and so on and so forth. Today I will start with what we call manner of articulation. But just to remind you of some of the places of articulation I mentioned last time, we can talk about glottal sounds such as the A. We can talk about bilabial sounds coming out of the two lips, the B and the P. We can talk about labiodental sounds such as the F and the V. And we can talk about dental sounds such as the F and the. You have to know this, number 4, that this form means F. It is the IPA, International Phonetic Alphabet. And I told you last time, you have to adopt this, let me say, system, the IPA, International Phonetic Alphabet. The first is called Th, number 4, dental, and the second is called The. If I want to write The in English, phonetically, I will use sound number 2. If I want to write 3, sound number 1 will be used. I'm talking about item number 4, dental sounds, the Th and the Da. And we have alveolar sounds, and I described them, that these are the sounds that come as a result of pressing the tip of the tongue against the alveolar ridge. According to this parameter, we have the S, number 5. We have the Z, we have the Ta, we have the Da. Of course, we have others, but these are just examples of it. We have also palata-alveolar or alveopalatal. Both are correct. And again, the forms or the shapes used are indeed IPA. The first is Sha, like she. The second is Ja. The third is Ja. And the fourth is Cha. The fourth is Cha. Both of them are alveopalatal or palata-alveolar. Both of them, both the names are correct. If you say alveopalatal or palata-alveolar, I will accept. These are the Sha, the Ja, the Ja, like judge, and the Cha, like church, for example. I just would like you to know that the last two, the first, which is the Ja, is called affricate. This sound, we call it affricate. And the Cha is also affricate. So, Ja is affricate, and Cha is also affricate. I'm talking about item number 6. The first is Sha, which is fricative. The second is Ja, which also fricative, but the last two are Ja. Affricate is called affricate, not fricative, affricate, and it is voiced. And the Cha, like church, it is also affricate and voiceless. Keep this in mind, please. So, Ja is voiced, Cha is voiceless. Ja is affricate and Cha is also affricate, and both of them are alveopalatal or palata-alveolar. Number 7, palatal, like the Ya in the word yes. Notice, if I put slashes, like number 7, if I put slashes, this means this is not Ja. You know, in English we say J, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. If it is between two slashes, this is not a phoneme. In this case, it is a sound. And this sound is Ya. So if I want to describe the word yes, I write between slashes ya, which is the J. It is not J in this case, it is ya. It's pronounced ya. So, number 7, palatal is the ya. It is ya. And, sorry, and the ya is sometimes described to be glide. Ya is a glide. We have indeed 2 glides. Ya is a glide, and W is also a glide. Now, we have velar sound, sorry. We have velar sound. These are ga and ka. We have 2 sounds, ga and ka. Now, after covering the places of articulation, we will jump to talk about manner of articulation. I will talk about it in general, then of course we are going to read it in detail. According to this criteria or parameter, manner of articulation, sounds could be stop sounds or fricative sounds. What we mean by stop sound is the sounds that are produced once the air coming out of the lung is completely stopped. Stopped by the organs, by the articulators that are used to talk, to speak. For example, my 2 lips are articulators. If I stop the air coming out of the lung completely by my 2 lips, I will have a sound such as the B and P. Notice in pronouncing the 2 sounds, P and B, I indeed stop the air completely by my 2 lips, then I release it and I let it go. And as such, the P and the B are called stop sounds. Why? Because the air coming out of the lung is completely stopped by my 2 lips. Another example, the 2 sounds ka and ga. Notice I stop the air for some times, then I release it. Ka and ga. And as such, the ka and the ga are called stop sounds. Why? Because the air is completely stopped, and then it is only related, and only then it is related or released. Let to go. It is let to go. It is released. But first I stop it. These sounds are called stop sounds. I just want to read in general quickly item number 1, because we might have some important words, but in general you have to follow what I have just said about it. For any given sound, we will say whether it is voiced or voiceless. This is the first parameter. And what its place of articulation, whether it's for example, alveolar, bilabial, velar, and so on and so forth. But to distinguish between the 4 ranges of speech sounds, we will require a 3rd descriptive parameter, which is manner of articulation. In other words, now I have the 3 parameters. Suppose I want to give you an example, which is the sound ka. If I use the first parameter, it would be voicelessness. And as such, I will say that the ka is voiceless. The second parameter is places of articulation. The ka is velar. And the 3rd parameter that we have just covered, which is manner of articulation, according to which the ka is stop sound. So now if I want to describe the ka, it would be voiceless, velar, and stop. 3 parameters. No sound on earth has these 3 characteristics, 3 parameters, but the ka. So its identity is being voiceless, velar, and stop. To identify the manner in which a sound is articulated, we will identify 3 different degrees of construction. Complete closure, close approximation, and open approximation. Complete closure, like the pronunciation of ka or ga or P or B. Where the air is completely stopped, then it is released. And we have a close approximation, and then we have open approximation. We will talk about all of them. And thus, three different categories of constants. We have stops, where the air is completely stopped. We have fricative, which is a close approximation. The air is stopped but not completely. Between the two articulators, we have a gap from which the air is allowed to pass. Notice, for example, if I say P, the air is completely stopped, then it is released. But if I say Z, yes, the air is stopped a little bit, but it is allowed to go out. So this sound is called fricative, because the air is not completely stopped. If I say Z, it is fricative, or S, for example, or Sh, or J. All of these sounds are called fricative because the air is not completely stopped. Stop sounds. In order to make the job easy, in order to, let me say, make things for you very easy even, I just have given to you the sounds that are called stop sounds. But before giving them to you as a spoon feed, I just try to explain in order to make you understand why they are called stop sounds. T is a stop sounds. Why? Because the air is completely stopped. Ta, then it is released. Da, the same. Ka, ga, ba, and P. So these sounds are called stop sounds. Notice, in pronouncing these sounds, the articulators could be the bilabial, could be the tip of the tongue and the alveolar ridge, could be the back of the tongue and the velar, okay? In pronouncing these sounds, the articulators involved in pronouncing them make a complete closure. They are stopped. The air is completely stopped, complete closure. For example, when we pronounce the P sound. And I have just explained, let me say, why the P has been called stop sounds. And notice, because the air is completely stopped, and then it is released, like P, some linguists have called the stop sounds plosives, أصوات انفجارية, because the air is stopped and then it is released, as if you make, let me say, because if so, they are called plosive sounds, as if we have made explosion. Accordingly, they are named plosive sounds or stop sounds. So the P is a stop, and if you name it plosive, of course you are right. The T the same, and the K, and the Da, and the Ta as well. All of these sounds, which are called stop sounds, could be also called plosive sounds, because the air is completely stopped and only then it is released. It is allowed to go out. Sounds which are produced with complete closure are referred to as stops between two brackets, or plosives, the same. So, given these three parameters, I just want to give you an example. Given these three parameters, we may describe the first sound in pet, I mean the P, as a voiceless, which is voicelessness, being voiced or voiceless, bilabial, the place of articulation, and stop, the manner of articulation. Some linguists, instead of saying that the sound is voiceless or voiced, if it is voiceless, they say minus voiced. If it is voiced, they say plus voiced, as you have seen. So the P sound phonetic description will be like the P is minus voice because it is voiceless, bilabial because it is produced via the lips, the air is modified by them, and stop because the air is completely stopped, Now we have fricative sounds. Fricative sounds means that the air is not completely stopped. It is stopped, but a little bit. We have a gap between the articulators that allows the air to go. It allows it to go. We do not stop it completely. We make friction while the air is passing through the two articulators, whether they are the two lips or the tip of the tongue and the alveolar ridge. The two lips, or for example, the tip of the tongue and the alveolar. The example that I have just given to you, if you say z or sh or j, it is not stopped. But if I say ta, it is stopped completely. Fricative sounds, the fricatives are the S, the Z, the F, the, the, sh, and the j. If I choose any of them, I can now use the three parameters to describe them. By the way, what I'm talking about is very much important, because in the final you are going to be asked questions about these parameters. I might ask you questions about the F. If the F is, for example, alveolar, it is not. Or if is it bilabial, it is not. Is it velar? It is not. I might ask, is it voiced? It is not. Is it voiceless? Yes. Okay? Is it labidental? Yes. So you have to keep this in mind, that I will ask you about the parameters. I might ask you about the three parameters, or I might ask you about one parameter or the two. I might ask you about the S. Is it voiceless or voiced? Or you might be asked, is it stop or fricative? Or you might be asked, is it, for example, alveolar or velar? So you have to know all of these, and I have already summarized them in the lectures, in the written material. So as I have said, I will do my best to make things very easy for you. Alhamdulillah, it is my field of study, phonetics and phonology, and I know how to convey the knowledge to you. The only thing you have to do is to follow me, to read the lectures, because they are very much important, and to follow what I say in the lectures. And if you do so, I promise you to find the questions in the final, inshallah, as easy as you wish. This is what I just want you to keep in mind. Just relax, follow me, and inshallah things will be very much okay, not only okay. And just to remind you of an important point, you have to know how the tha is written according to the IPA phonetic system. How the tha, how the tha, how the sha, how the ja, all of these are to be understood by you, please. And I've already written them to you. If you do not know a single form, just in the direct lectures, you can ask, inshallah. Let us now distinguish between complete closure and another less extreme degree of construction, close approximation. Close approximation sounds which are produced with this kind of construction entail a bringing together of the two articulators to the point where the airflow is not quite fully blocked, enough of a gap remains for air to escape. The thing that I have just said. But the articulators are so close together that the friction is created as the air escapes. Sounds of this sort are referred to as fricatives. This is what I have said, but here I have summarized them to you. I have summarized it to you in written material. The first sound in fin, for example, is created by bringing the lower lip close to the upper teeth, the labidental, in a construction of close approximation, because the air is not completely stopped. Because if so, I can say f or v, because the air is not completely stopped. This sound, the F, using the three parameters, this sound is voiceless, place of articulation labidental, and manner of articulation fricative. Transcribed as fa between two squares. As I told you, if you see squares, this means it is not the phoneme, it is how it is pronounced. Another example is the S. Okay, I have already given to you. And if I want to talk about the S, it is minus voice, alveolar, and fricative. While the Z is plus voice, alveolar, and fricative. Notice that both of them are fricative, both of them are alveolar, but one of them is voiceless and the second is voiced, and as such we have two different sounds. I have used the three parameters to differentiate between the S and the Z. Approximants, the least the least degree of construction occurs when articulators come fairly close together, but not sufficiently close together to create friction. We do not have fricative sounds in here. This kind of structure is called open approximation. Constants produced in this way are called approximation or approximants sometimes. The first sound in yes is an approximant. It is described like J between two slashes. It is not J, it is ya. It is ya. It could be called approximant, notice, and it could be called glide, because we have two glides, ya and W. Both of them are approximant, and some linguists call them glide. So if you say approximant, it is okay. If you say glide, it is okay. The ya and the W. It is described like ya, and it is a voiced, palatal, and approximant. And we have the W, as I told you, approximant, and the R is also approximant, and the L, all of them are also considered approximants. So we have two approximant sound. We have, sorry, four approximants. We have four approximant sounds or four approximants. They are ya, W, ra, and la. Keep in mind that the W and the ya are also called glide. But the R and L, of course they are considered approximants and they are called approximants, but some linguists in some books call them liquids. Even the liquid sounds are the R and the L. And at the same time you can name them approximants. But the glide sounds are the ya and the W, and of course they are approximants. So we have four approximants, ya, W, ra, and L. Approximants, the least degree of construction occurs when articulates come fairly close. I have just talked about this, sorry. And that's all for today. We have talked about manner of articulation. According to this parameter, we have stop sounds like T and D, and the rest of the sounds I have already mentioned. We have fricative sounds, the fricatives such as the sa, the za, and so on and so forth. And we have approximants, and the approximants are four sounds: the ya, the W, the L, and the R. That's all for today. I hope everything is okay. If you have any question, you are welcome to ask in the direct lecture, inshallah, that I think are going to start next week. You are welcome to ask me any question, and again I will repeat this important point: things are going to be okay and going to be easy. Just follow the lectures, follow the written materials, and follow what I say in the lectures. Nothing is going to be difficult. Thank you so much. Inshallah, see you next week.